all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bets, cause we know where we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocket here, ain't stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future but see profit here. Wait up, we gon' always win. Promise that that's not a promise, yeah, that is a threat.
All right, I'm back in the garage. Let me get my lighting right. All right, so welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna try to get caught up, but it's winter time right now here in Tennessee. So I thought about it and I'm like, I'm gonna make a quick video on how I winterize my bikes. So if you have race bikes out there or just normal street bikes, whatever, I think my procedures work for like everything. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube about winterizing bikes and all of this, but I don't know, it's content and it's something that I felt like I wanted to share. So for me, this is the stuff that I have. So you need some stable, some fuel stabilizer. Of course my phone will go off and interrupt my video. We got some chain lube. I really like this one though, because it just feels like it doesn't leave a mess. Well, that's the lube. We got some cleaner. We got some saran wrap, and then we have rags. Obviously we have something to clean the chain. And then we have fresh fuel. And then some of the other things that I do, which you'll see in the video, is I usually disconnect the batteries totally. So what'll happen is I'll put the stable inside of the tank, fill the gas up, the fuel tank up to about 80 to 90%, give or take. Pour the stable in, let it run for a couple of minutes so the mixture will run through the system, hit the fuel lines, the injectors, all of this stuff. Turn the bike off. I'll probably disconnect the battery, and then I'll start doing the chain. And the saran wrap primarily is usually I'll either lift the tank and take the air box off and then use like rags to plug the throttle bodies and all of this, but I don't feel like doing all of that. So instead I'm gonna use saran wrap to cover all the openings, just because dust and dirt, condensation, all of that stuff can kind of get in. So that'll be my way of protecting things. And then last but not least, I have a whole bunch of motorcycle covers up there. So usually I cover all of my bikes throughout the winter time. I know it's probably overkill, but that's kind of sort of what I do. A lot of them have dust and dirt. I'll also give it a good wipe down, clean the surfaces, and then that's when I'll wrap them up. So that's how it kind of looks. There's several bikes that's missing out of here. That's being worked on. I'm upgrading some things, and that's it. So you all will follow me while, I don't know if I'm gonna use the Grom first or what, but you all will follow me while I winterize at least one of my bikes. You'll see the process, and then you can make up your own decision on what you want to do. But it's content, so hopefully this helps somebody out there. And if it doesn't and you have something better, hey, put it down in the comments. Maybe I missed something. All right, let me get to winterizing. All right, so one of the first things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that all of the bikes have stable in it. Now, I used to measure this stuff, but this is supposed to, this one bottle has like 80 gallons to it, so I don't really measure it. I just pour a little bit in there, put some gas on top of it, and then a couple of ounces or so. That's that. And then start the bike. Let it run a little bit so it'll circulate. Had to make sure I cracked the garage. The fumes, man, it gives headaches. But I just let the bike warm up so the stable works itself through the system like I said before. And then the next thing is cleaning and lubing the chain. Now, usually I'll check tire pressures and all, but since I have the front wheel and a chock and then the rear lifted, most of the times on my stretch bikes I try to use a front wheel chock, and then in the rear I'll use like a stand. I just don't like an extended bike being up on both stands. It's just a ism of mine, so it's all good. But I checked the tire pressure. Tire pressures are good, so let's move on to the chain. Let's see. I don't want it to be too bright, so I'll do something like this.
You already took it.
Don't need that. Of course. Let me do that again. Take two. So now I'm gonna move over to the chain. So now the fuel is already at about 80–90%. I'm pretty sure it's at 90% full. And most times they say that if you leave it less than that, then you know your tank can rust and all of this. I've never had a rusted tank, so I don't know. But I got my lube, and now I need to find my chain clean. So I'll be back once I get it.
I got it.
Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to the chain. So I got some chain clean, and then I have some lube, and basically all I'm gonna do is clean and lube the chain. It's pretty boring, but my chains are pretty clean anyways, just because I'm always doing maintenance on them. But you know, when bikes are sitting, dust, dirt, just from the bike sitting gets things dirty. So I just make sure that I do it. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I know rubber likes to, once it gets cold, rubber likes to get brittle. And a lot of times with chains, those little gaskets or O-rings that's in the chains, it's just best to make sure that you clean and lube the chain, so that way next season your chain is good. At least for me, this has always worked. And I mean, this is not that bad, I guess, for a bike that's been sitting. And then my favorite lube is this one. Like I said, it doesn't leave a lot of mess. But because this is going to be sitting for an extended period of time, I will just use the mold tool. Now a lot of times I'll over lubricate it just because I know the bike's gonna sit. So I kind of over lube it and then just let it sit over the winter time, knowing that it's just extra protection for, again, the O-rings and the chain. But some people would argue that. But Now usually I would leave like, I would take a rag and wipe off excess, but in this case I won't. And I'll just let it sit, and I'll have, as you can see on my glove, that's just extra protection to me. Always works. I never have issues after the season preparing in the spring. So technically that's that. Now I'll move on to the fairings. And now I'm just taking out the battery, because there's no need to have the battery in here anymore. I usually leave the bolts in the bike, actually, or I'll put it back in the battery so I don't lose them. Alright. These tiny batteries, they move around a lot, but the battery's out. Now, some say you don't have to disconnect lithium batteries, but I found out the hard way, when temperatures drop, lithium batteries hate. So for me, I always disconnect it. And all of these bikes have lithium batteries in it. So this process that I'm showing goes for every single one of the bikes. All right, so now that that's done, also they make plugs for this, but I don't have plugs, so I got a getaway. I just put fresh rags in there. Obviously, do not crank the bike if you forget that there's a big rag in there. That's why I use bright colored rags. So that way, when I walk up to the bike, if I should forget, I can see there's a bright yellow thing in my exhaust. So if you choose to do this, remember there's something plugged in your exhaust. Don't start the bike with the anything plugged in your exhaust. I'm sure people have done it. So now, I'll just do a quick wipe down. And it's just a quick detail, just getting all the dirt and dust off. Nothing major. My bikes they're not dirty anyways, but it's just to get any extra dirt and dust off. Some people actually put wax on it. A lot of these detailers have this fake built-in wax, so no big deal. I just wipe it down just to get all of the big stuff off. This Velcro is a headache, but it holds my phone. And I'm just spraying indiscriminately just because it doesn't matter. It's just just to get any major dirt and stuff off of the bike. Really dust and dirt. It's probably be a whole lot faster if I wasn't trying to hold a camera and do this. That's probably why I don't have a lot of content, because I'm always working on the bikes, but it's just difficult to work on the bikes and provide footage at the same time. So, but y'all get the gist. Just to get all the major stuff off of the bike. A lot of these cleaners have built-in stuff, I don't know, chemicals and such so you don't have to do the old school way of doing things and putting a coat of wax on the bike. But I don't know, this is what works for me, and after every season it seems to make sense. So and that looks a lot better. Okay, now my next thing is, normally I would lift up the tank and everything, but I found over the last couple of seasons, this also has worked to keep dust and dirt out of the intake. So what I'll do is take one of these bright rags and I will put it here. Then I'll take some saran wrap and I will put it over here. And basically what that does is it keeps all of the dirt and dust outside of the bike. So it's just a way of circumventing the system, so to speak. At least that's the way I've been doing it, and it's been working. And then the other thing is too, normally when I prep for the season, most of this bike comes back apart, and I re-lube and redo everything anyways. So I guess last but not least too, as far as oil changes go, so what I used to do was do an oil change like right now before I put the bike up. Then I would do an oil change prior to spraying. However, with all of these bikes, the oil might have a couple of 100 miles max, so there's no need for me to waste oil. So all of these bikes have just gotten an oil change recently, so I'll probably just change the oil once I get ready for the season next year's, or this year's season. I'm still thinking it's 2024. Anyways, all right. So see if I can show that process. See if I can show that process a little bit. All right. So now, big opening. right there. And that's completely blocked. So as you can see, if you look in there, you can barely see it, but that is completely blocked. And then the thing I like about saran wrap is it actually sticks to like everything. So all you gotta do is kind of lay it there. It's gonna stick because the surfaces are clean. Put it down, kind of cut it. And I know it seems kind of ghetto, but trust me, it works. I used to use painter's tape, but that always leaves adhesives, and then I would have to go behind myself and use Glue Gun or something like that, depending on how long it stayed. So now this whole thing is covered. So now if any condensation or something wants to get in here, dust, dirt, airbox and all of this, it's not getting to the intake and it's not going through the exhaust because both are plugged. And like I said, you literally can just peel it off and there's going to be no residue. So now my last step is I go and get one of my covers. I cover the bike up, and that is it. Until next season when I take most of this bike apart, change everything, check fluids, check everything, and then I start all over again. So, okay, last but not least, you don't need a motorcycle cover. I use motorcycle covers because it's easy, but then, you know, just keeping the extra dirt and dust off the bodywork. Just because it sits, like, I don't know where dust and dirt comes from, but it accumulates anyway. So you can use a sheet, a bed sheet, cover, whatever, but this is the way that I do it. And that essentially is the way that I do a quick winterization of my bikes. Now, again, you can pull the spark plugs. Sometimes I pull the spark plugs, I pull the battery, and a whole slew of other things. But since these bikes have been well maintained, they're always well maintained, but since I've recently done all of this stuff, I don't feel there's a need to spend the extra time and energy doing it, just because it's just, I just did it. So but that's it. Now all I have to do is do this several more times, and yeah, it's time consuming, but if you keep up on the maintenance of your bike, then the winterization process shouldn't be that difficult. So let me know in the comments if you know, this was helpful to anybody, and if not, hey, it's content and I wanted to share the way that I winterize my bikes. Now my race stuff is basically the same thing. Again, if you maintain your stuff throughout the season, you shouldn't have to do too much. All right, well, that's it, and hope you enjoyed it. Peace.
Holla.